editor-in-chief of Life Zet, Laura Ingraham. Laura, your response to this story?
So far we know that Dina Powell and Rex Tillerson have both said no classified information was revealed. There were only 3 people at the meeting from the administration other than the president: McMaster, Dina Powell, and Tillerson. And my sources are telling me that the Washington Post discussed this before they printed this with none of the principals who were at the meeting. They did not speak to Tillerson, they did not speak to Powell, and they did not speak to McMaster about the specific allegations that they were raising.
Their responsibility
and if that's the case, that's what we're hearing at Life Zet. And if that's the case, how do you go on the record with this piece without talking to the principals who were at the meeting about the specific allegations?
The responsibility of the Washington Post, it seems to me, in an incident like this, is to reach out to the administration and to its press operation, and to get whatever answer that they're prepared to give to you. Doesn't mean that it invalidates the reporting if you didn't speak to the principals. Obviously, it's better to speak to the principals. Is it possible, Juan, that what we have here might be a case where people in the intelligence community who are opposed to Donald Trump on any number of grounds are being tendentious here and leaking something to the Washington Post that doesn't quite check out, but simply want to undermine his presidency?
Well, it's always possible. As you said, we are in a, when you come to intelligence, a forest of mirrors, a wilderness made up of mirrors. So there's all kinds of games being played. Tendentious, though, would suggest that there was deceit. And that's the question. Let's do away with the game playing and come down to the reality of what transpired. Now, what we know in terms of what we've heard from Tillerson, McMaster, and apparently Dina Powell, is that they say that no methods or sources were revealed. But the idea that the city where the information would have come from was somehow disclosed, they don't speak to that issue, and that's what makes me suspicious.
I think we could probably agree that we'd all feel much more comfortable with this information if the source of it that the Washington Post had was in any sense identified. There are present and past national security officials cited as the anonymous sources. I can certainly understand why someone who's presently in office who wanted to disclose such information might not want to have their name revealed, but it's a little unclear to me at this stage why people who are out of office who have somehow found out about this cannot, and it's a very serious matter as it's presented at least by the Post, cannot step up and be identified. Now, perhaps that will all come with time, and it should be noted that these denials that have been made by McMaster, Dina Powell, and Rex Tillerson do not get to what the Post actually said was revealed, which was the identity of the place from which the intelligence came, which by itself could conceivably tip off the source of it or the method of it. We don't know that yet, but we got a lot to learn about this, and we're pretty far out in the conjecture area here, I think.
Yeah, well, but I'm comfortable here. I love it here in the conjecture area. I have my scuba gear. We're doing well.
This is where, don't you think Tillerson or McMaster should come on camera tonight and clarify this? I think this is where you really want them to come forward and, this is what happened. We'll take your questions, but this isn't right, this isn't right, and this isn't right. And I bet you're going to hear from Lavrov. Lavrov is kind of one of these characters who loves to be in the news. I wouldn't be surprised if you heard something from him on this.
We couldn't even rule out, honestly, that the sources for this article might come not from our intelligence community, although some clearly did, but perhaps from the Russian side as well. Charles, do you see that this will go anywhere? Do you see that this is going to have legs?
I think it's like a 3-day story if it's true, because I don't think there's a lot in here. This is a president slipping on a banana peel if it's true, and then all the chorus on the Democratic side saying, what's behind that? What's he trying to do here? If this happened, you can imagine the scene. Lavrov, President, are discussing aviation problems, the fact that we are now thinking of a ban on the bringing of these items onto airplanes from Europe, our allies. The Russians, it was a Russian airplane, incidentally, that was blown up over the Sinai. The Russians are sensitive to laptops that explode in airplanes. It happened to them. They would be listening, and I can see this is sort of the scenario that you imagine from the Washington Post story. You see the president saying, you know what, our sources in Tel Aviv are telling us, or somewhere else, Riyadh, that they're working on this new kind of explosive. It could be something as simple, offhanded as that, and that would explain the entire story. Is that a hanging offense? No. Is it a mistake? Yes, and it could be a problem in dealing with our ally in the future.
James,
but I can't see it as being a permanent breached since it wasn't deliberate.
As a political matter, I think this feeds not into some Russia corrupt relationship story, but into a story that has to do with Donald Trump and his ability to pull these things off, to the competence question. That was raised unmistakably last week by the ham-handed handling of the Comey firing, which by itself seems to me something he had every right to do, and many people in both parties thought he should do, or at least thought should be done. But the handling of it was slipshod, careless, it made him look bad, and now comes this. This would be another case, if it's true, where he didn't know enough to know what he shouldn't say, which goes again to the competence question.
It conduces toward an image of amateurism, which his enemies, or I should say his opponents, have labored to create for him, sometimes with his assistance. So now you're looking at your screens. On the other side of the screen, you can see the White House stakeout position, and we are told that the White House National Security Advisor, General McMaster, will be coming out very shortly, momentarily, to give a statement. Just as Laura Ingraham was saying a few moments ago, it was imperative. So if you didn't know before, and we've all known this from knowing Laura for a long time, she's uniquely persuasive. She's very persuasive.
What can I say? I would say this. You have to remember, always consider the source. And in this piece, they repeatedly referenced our sources that clearly came from the previous administration. We know that the previous administration... Well, it says former and current sources. Right. And officials expressed concern with Trump's handling of sensitive information, exposure of the intelligence stream. It's all kind of shocking, said a former senior U.S. intelligence official. Now, could it go back to the Reagan administration? I guess. I don't think so. I have a feeling it's the Obama folks, and this is more troublemaking. Charles is exactly right. This could be a slip-up, or it could be untrue. And I think we are going to hear something somewhat interesting coming from McMaster.
Juan, is there anything that General McMaster can say in this imminent appearance at the White House stakeout that would satisfy you that this is not a major deal?
Yeah, he could say it didn't happen, one, or he could say it was inadvertent, two. So far, what we've heard from the statements issued by the administration is that there was no discussion of methods and sources or individuals who were acting to contribute information to U.S. intelligence. We have not heard that this didn't happen, so that would play to what we're hearing at the table this evening, which is it could be that it was inadvertent or the result of the fact that the president is relatively new to his job. I just wanted to respond to something Laura said. The rest of that quote says, U.S. official close to current administration officials. I don't know if that means an Obama administration official